into a fucking behemoth, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
All
I
right.
I
I
ended
think
that
we're just gonna
behemoth
have to
fight in
work with
five
this for
seconds.
now. Noah, I'm gonna give you the stuff next week, and we'll see if you can't stream it on your end.
Okay.
All right, so back
So
to this
are we
behemoth.
back to being live?
Yeah, we're back to being live.
And
Back
we're
to being live.
back to life. All right, Matthew, continue your story.
Oh,
The behemoth.
well, that would be the. But yeah, but we have to do all the yelling again.
I don't want to yell.
No,
again.
we don't have to do
Don't
yelling
yell.
again.
Okay. Hi everybody, welcome back. Okay. Yeah. So yeah.
It's Monday night.
Good God.
So yeah, no, so no, we can save it for 76.
Okay.
It was part of 76. So
All right,
so
Pinkertons.
Pinkerton Gate. All right, so first things first.
If we don't call it Pink Gate, I'm gonna be upset.
So here's the
I
deal.
like the pink gate.
We don't discuss the Pink Gate anyway. So
It's
here's
better than the brown gate, I guess.
so wait, no,
Listen.
on their website.
Sometimes you got to explore.
Okay. So, all right, guys. All right, all right, table. All right, table. We are going to be super serious about this because it is vitally important. First off,
I need a
The-
cape if I'm gonna be super.
the particulars of the issue is that a Magic the Gathering YouTube streamer, Twitch streamer, whatever, apparently broke some card reveals prior to the time that they were supposed to, thus violating their NDA, which led to a long drawn out bit of like high school prepubescent drama on the part of Wizards of the Coast, which then resulted in the Pinkerton Detective Agency coming to this person's house. Now, the first question I've gotten in all of the conversations I've had with this are,
Wait.
who the hell are the Pinkertons?
Their acronym is PDA, and that makes me uncomfortable.
I'm getting here. So here is the super serious official story of who the Pinkerton Detective Agency is. Throughout their history, they have served as guardians and protectors of organizations around the world, defining new industry standards for comprehensive risk management and consistently revolutionizing our industry. From their roots serving as an intelligence agency during the Civil War, Pinkertons have continued to build an impressive track record, establishing the first criminal database, being the first company to hire a female detective, and being a forerunner for the Secret Service. Now, this organization has decided that the next iteration in law enforcement and protecting the integrity of and revolutionizing their industry is to go hunt down somebody who's playing Magic the Gathering.
That's not all of their history, though. I just want to point out something. The whole
Oh yeah,
strike breaking thing, and
I played Red Dead Redemption. I know what's what.
I mean, the whole strike breaking thing
devil.
with the coal miners, dropping
Oh.
literal bombs on American citizens and machine gunning them down for workers' rights.
no.
I think we should
No, I
talk
was-
about that
well,
too,
I was-
because this
see-
is a union household. We don't take too kindly to people like that.
I was reading from their
Wait, are
website.
you saying that the Pinkertons are the president of the United States?
Whoa.
I was reading from
I mean,
their website.
No,
not
because they don't
from
do shit
other-
covertly. They just do it out in the open. So
Yeah, let's put it this way. There was a time when like the Pinkertons, like they originated in like Chicago because they're
Yeah.
from Cook County, and they proceeded to like establish themselves as like when you couldn't really get the law on your
Yeah.
side, you kind of reached out to these guys. And honestly, I would go so far as to say that short of like the Revolutionary War, the Pinkertons were the first private military corporation in the United States.
at one point
Other than
they
the
were
Texas
actually
Rangers.
at one point they were actually bigger than the army was. At one point, they had so many personnel. So to kind of
And-
put that into perspective,
Yeah.
they're-
And-
yeah.
But it's okay because they're totally benevolent and whatever. So really the brass tacks here is that the company with a gigantic PR issue on its plate decided these agents, these strike breaker, like strong arm agents, to come and like repossess their equipment. Now, I have thoughts, but I would like to see what the consensus of the group is, because well, let me start with this.
Here we go, talking about consent again.
Well, it's important.
Shit.
Well, let's see. Who
We are in Texas.
Well, out of curiosity, who here has? I know of at least 3 people, but who here has experience dealing with non-disclosure agreements from companies, particularly about release of product?
I have all kinds of NDAs I've signed. So
the thing is this: depending on the company, an NDA can either be a slap on the wrist, or it can be serious, depending on hard, depending on how litigious the company is. Like you
They
breach
could
a
ruin your life.
breach.
Are you trying
Yeah.
to say that there's levels to this shit?
No,
Yeah.
no, I'm saying
An
you breach an NDA from I don't know, Disney, and they shit out a dozen lawyers to come and wreck your world. You break an NDA from some indie press thing, and they just don't send you copy of their next edition of their role playing game that they're trying to put out on the market. Like, it depends on how much money the company invests in legal services, and I don't know, protecting their reputation after they've had a long string of really bad press about themselves. Which brings us back to Wizards.
Yeah, I mean, so
Yeah,
for me
full circle.
personally, first of all, saying the Pinkertons is just really fucking weird. I mean, like that, because that's like not a name you really hear too often, just because it's like, wait, what? The Pinkertons?
Yeah, I hear that and I'm thinking like Jesse James and,
Yeah.
Right?
and all that
Yeah.
Wild West
It's-
shit.
It's just
That's
like,
what
and,
I
like,
think of when I hear the Pinkertons.
and they're notoriously violent. They're banned in my state of Ohio. Like they're banned. Like they're not allowed to operate in the state of Ohio because they were so violent. It's just like, if you're gonna send somebody, just send some no-name detective agency or whatever to go do it. Don't send the most notorious violent detective agency to go do it. That's
Or
just,
you
bizarre.
send a letter from your law office, and you're
Yeah,
like, hey,
'cause
That's
fair's
what I
fair,
would
you
have thought
broke
was
the rules.
the very first thing that would be my reaction would be, okay, if you break that, okay, you're going to get served papers.
Yeah.
You're going to
Well,
be
let-
sued, and you're going to get served papers.
Here's my thing.
from
Here's
the
my,
sheriff.
Devil's advocate, and in the essence of fairness, Wizards claims to have attempted to reach out to Mr.
Yes.
whatever his name is,
Yeah.
multiple times unanswered and with no
but that was over the
Via
phone. Who
telephone.
answers? Yeah, who answers random numbers on their cell phone anymore? I'm not
I don't
trying
answer
to
numbers,
hear
I
about
answer
my
the voicemail.
washer and dryer warranty.
Well,
You know what I mean? Like I'm
here's-
not.
I understand.
but-
I'm just I have to be that guy.
Yeah.
But to play the devil's advocate here, like you are a important enough, quote unquote, important enough influencer that
Yeah.
Magic the Gathering, that Wizards of the Coast will send you product to promote. Therefore, you have to have at least some kind of connection to them. Like
Yeah.
when I was running conventions and shit like this, like the gaming companies that I dealt with, I had communication with them. So it
Yeah.
should not be a surprise that if I put cards on my stream and it gets back to Wizards, I should be expecting a call from probably the person who I deal with routinely,
Or an email.
Well-
like I mean, like
or an
so, like
email,
if-
or a text.
that's the
or
thing. Like,
something.
yeah, like I mean, that's the thing. It's just like you don't just call people. You send them an email or a text. Like if I have to work with a contractor on my end, I won't just call them. If I do call them, I always send an email as well, so if they don't get touched, they at least know what I want to talk to them about. You know what I mean?
Paper
Just because
trail.
I don't expect them to know anything. And yeah, a paper trail. Like they can say they called him a million times, but he didn't get the call because he's not going to answer a random number. So, but an email is an immediate paper trail and a call of content. And the other thing is, it's just that it's already leaked on his YouTube. So I mean, the first thing to do would be to DMCA his YouTube account.
Yep.
And that's the most important part, is that you could prove to Google pretty quickly that he violated his NDA, and they could take down
Right.
his entire YouTube account, and that would solve the problem.
But why
Well-
did he do it?
So
Well, I can
wha-
tell you. Well, here's the deal. I can tell you why you don't DMCA the guy. You don't, if you DMCA the guy, then Wizards DMCA'd my account.
It's
and then
better than
it's
sending
bad. It's
Pinkertons.
bad PR.
It's better than Pinkertons.
Well, so
No.
I have a question though, because I keep hearing this. He broke NDA. He was sent product. Everything that I have read does not point in that direction. Like I said,
I've
what
heard
I have
multiple
read-
different things.
Yeah, what I have read is he ordered these
Oh,
things
yeah,
right here,
yeah,
the March
yeah,
of the
yeah.
Machines pre-release boxes,
And it was shipped
opening
incorrectly.
packs.
Yeah.
And what he was sent was March of the Machine, the Aftermath, which is the new set that they were going to be unveiling this week. But because it both says March of the Machine, he was just like, okay, I'm opening them because I ordered $4,000 worth of March of the Machine and this is
Yeah.
what showed up. So I'm opening it. That is what I at least have seen. So
That's the articles that I read said the same thing, that he
Yeah.
Yeah.
it was a
Yeah, you're right,
miscommunication
yeah.
with the seller.
Yeah.
yeah.
So-
And so, which makes it, even fucking worse at this point.
Yeah, because he had no idea. He was just opening
Yeah.
up $4,000
Yeah,
worth
'cause,
of cards
I mean-
on his stream. He's not going to know the
let's-
difference.
If
Now
if you're a streamer with an idea about what's going on, then yeah. I mean, the thing is this: like, here's the deal. Like Noah and I and a handful of us are self-employed to one degree or another. We
Mhm.
understand what it's. I mean, but every one of us here are also professionals in our fields. We
Yeah.
know that, like, if streaming is this guy's thing, then he should
wasn't.
know. Well,
yeah, it's
He
not.
had 4,000 YouTube followers. Like he
yeah,
wasn't
but
nobody.
here's the
Cool,
thing. It
well,
all
then-
kind of sounds like a publicity stunt,
then
honestly.
he's
Yeah.
a moron,
Oh.
and he got what
I mean,
he
he's
wasn't paying attention.
a moron for spending $4,000 on Magic cards. I mean,
Whoa, shots fired,
There
shots
goes
fired.
Noah. Shots fired.
No,
I say that
okay.
as-
Get
I
your-
say-
Noah,
Joe.
Noah,
as
get
I
your
say
sim-
that
get your
as a
emotional
kid in
support
high
beer.
school who spent way more than that on Magic cards.
Noah, get your emotional support beer.
Just your emotional support magic cards.
Okay.
Fucking A.
Are you better? Are you better, buddy? Are you better,
Kristen,
buddy?
what do you think? What do you think, Kristen?
He's not trying to counterspell your deck, man. Sorry.
His what?
I always
He's
counterspell.
Jack.
I'm a blue player.
Jeez.
I'm a
Got
blue
it.
player.
Oh, that explains so
I
much.
thought we were friends, but you say shit like that.
No, my opinion is it all sounds a lot like a publicity stunt.
But if it was publicity stunt, why would they pull in the Pinkerton?
No. It's a publicity stunt for
Because
that
we're
guy.
talking
The
about it now,
guy.
aren't we?
Yeah.
No.
yeah.
It's a publicity stunt for that guy because this does not look good for Wizards of the Coast at all.
Yeah, no, it doesn't.
It's not
but
even a
I'm
bad.
talking
It's
about
not even a bad press thing.
somebody said, "Hey, here's an idea," and did something stupid,
Wait, no.
and now we're all talking about it.
Are you
I
calling
think
me out
honestly,
again?
Whoa, if the shoe fits, my friend, Cinderella.
I think that it's definitely, there was no right answer to this situation. I think that there were a lot of I think that there were a lot of mistakes made and a lot of miscommunication, and this definitely was a mistake that was easily to remedy. And it's, if the guy knew what he ordered and he got something and said, well, this says this is something else, this is not what I ordered,
Yeah.
definitely don't unbox it live if you have any concerns about it.
Well, I mean, but did he know what he was unboxing when he did it?
He should
Well,
know
it
what he
says-
ordered.
If you
Right,
said
but
the
how many times have you
March of the
ordered, like,
Machines,
A book.
Yeah,
you
like-
got a dildo.
I mean, the same
Never.
thing. Yeah, never.
Twice,
I
actually.
can officially go on record.
The
as
same
saying
thing
I have
happened with
never-
Warhammer 40K though, because one guy got the new Primarch by accident as well, and he revealed that because the factory just didn't do a very good job.
and
and you could
Workshop is
say he didn't
also
know.
litigious.
Yeah, but they didn't. They handled it way better than Wizards did. They were just like, "Hey,
I didn't
our
even hear
bad."
of that. So
Yeah,
that
yeah.
to me says, yeah, it was more handled. It was okay. You know what? Quick and easy, get it taken care of.
Yeah, like it wasn't a big deal. They were just sort of like, "Oh man, that sucks. We had a goof. We done goofed, and it's
We
fine
done
because they were
goofed.
going to release it a couple weeks later, so that everyone just knew beforehand. And it was a
Well-
great looking model, so they were just sort of like, "Oh, whatever." Everyone's hyped
Well-
about it now.
I
Right.
still stand by that there's no such thing as bad publicity either.
No.
Yeah, I think with Wizards there is bad such thing as bad publicity. And I think they're
Mm.
they're doing that
Well,
right now.
The thing is
Well-
this. The thing is this.
But
This
we're
goes
talking
back.
about them.
Well, but the thing is this. We're talking about how much of a shithead they are. But the thing is, this goes back to months before the OGL issue, where the head of product, whatever, in a board meeting, in a shareholder meeting, said that Dungeons and Dragons is just really under monetized, and then from that point forward, Wizards of the Coast has been making progressively more and more heavy-handed attempts to maintain the corner of their market. And the problem is, as was once told to me by a general whose respect I hold above all other people, the more systems you try to hold in your hand, the more they slip through your fingers, Lord. I mean, Lord Vader. Happy May the 4th, guys.
I mean, like it's. I mean, Magic the
And
Gathering
also
is
with
a
you.
billion-dollar industry. Like they're doing fine. Like if it gets released a week early, guess what? That's okay. That's okay. Like it's not a big deal. Like I'm not.
Yeah.
Like you don't need a because they effectively broke into this guy's house. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Like
God.
Effectively. They
Like
didn't
what?
actually
What
break.
what happened when they showed up?
So they asked the wife answers the door, right, and they ask for him, and she asks them to leave. They put themselves in between the door as she's trying to close it.
Is that legal?
Kind of
No,
like the foot in the door thing.
yeah, that's not legal at all, and that was the issue.
In
And
the
then
essence,
they were,
go ahead.
and so then they were demanding to get the cards back. They were saying that he was in legal trouble. They were going to bring the law into it, and
I believe
they-
there's at least one. I believe there's at least one instance of like they said that something about wanting to have receipts for every
magic card he had in
the
his
guy
house.
owned,
Yeah. He
or
owns
else they
millions
what?
of them.
or else they'd
For what?
repossess them all because they can't verify which ones are which.
Then you
Yeah.
should fucking know. Learn your
Yeah,
shit.
They're Pinkertons, not Magic players.
yeah.
Like had we sent Noah over, he'd have been like, "Okay, let's sit down. We're
Yeah,
gonna
yeah,
sort
yeah,
this
yeah.
out."
Yeah,
no, we said
one-
no.
one-
Half
yeah.
those cards aren't making it back.
No,
Yeah.
none of them are. 100%. They're
here's-
going in my pocket.
here's
They're
the
coming
thing.
home. They're
They
going to
had
my
his
salt deck.
wife crying and all that, and also like as soon as you put your foot in my door after I tell you to leave, you're getting a bullet.
You're
in your
getting
ass.
shot.
Yeah, you're
Yeah,
getting a bullet
exactly.
in your
You're
ass.
getting shot.
Yeah,
What state
like
was it?
I don't know, but I think in most states you're okay with shooting that person at that point if
Yeah,
you
there's
ask them
a
to leave.
standard ground
The castle
thing.
law
Yeah.
or whatever it is.
Yeah, so it's like I mean like.
The state of who the fuck does this over Magic cards?
Yeah,
you-
yeah, exactly. Because it's like you go to court and it's just like, yeah, this guy effectively broke into my house for some magic cards. Like, you know what?
I-
Yeah, you could shoot him. You could shoot him. It's fine.
Yeah.
The thing is this, like you like I think that the issue is the heavy-handed nature of the whole thing
Yeah.
because the thing is this, I have in my work, I do a lot of my primary career, I work in municipal utilities, which means sometimes I have to go to people's houses, and sometimes those people are really angry and don't want me there, even though
Yeah.
I'm trying to help them, which
Mhm.
means I have to call a cop. Now, the cop is not there to shove their foot in the door and make
No.
a situation worse. Their job is just there to keep shit cool. And I don't, and I think, and I feel that the Pinkerton involvement escalated the situation, not de-escalated the situation
Yeah.
Yeah.
over a bunch of cards.
It could
I
have been
feel-
handled a lot differently.
I feel like this whole episode is like watching an episode of Yu-Gi-Oh, where it's
Yeah.
like, I am going to find your family, murder your family, burn down your entire house, kill your dog, even though we are playing a child's card game. Like that's
Just so that
where
I
I
could get
feel
your
like we
blue
are.
eyes,
Is
white
that not how we're
dragon.
supposed to handle things?
Yeah. no, that's-
Apparently on the corporate
seem
level,
to
yes.
recall, I seem to recall. Stop me if any of the people in this room have heard this. Use your words.
Yeah.
Don't
Sure.
hit. Use your words. Don't hit people.
Mind your business.
And say you're sorry if you
Yeah.
do something bad. I seem to recall those things, and it feels like they've all been ignored in this case.
We don't need to harp on it too much longer, but I'm just like,
Yeah,
for
no,
my
no.
for my point of view, they were in the wrong in every single way possible.
No,
This
yeah,
is an
totally.
email. If they didn't want it on YouTube, they could have easily gone to YouTube and taken it off. I think the Pinkertons were just convenient. I mean, if you look at who owns Hasbro, 40% of Hasbro is owned by BlackRock and Vanguard. So
Hold on. What's this guy's viewership like?
only 4,000 people. So like, I mean, a live stream, he'd probably get as many people as we get. You know
As
what I
we
mean?
They're not as cool. They're
Yeah.
not as cool as us. He's not as
Yeah.
cool as us, of course.
So I mean,
one
like,
is.
it's not a
Ice
big
cold.
deal. You know, and they just. I get that it's a big IP and they wanted to release it all at once. I get that, but then don't ship it out that way. Or you know, if it does get to the wrong person's hand, he didn't get it he got it on accident. And even if he knew what he was doing, he actually wasn't under any NDA. That was on the
Well,
seller's part. So
why
I
does it-
mean,
Yeah, why didn't they go after the seller or whoever sent it to him?
They probably did, but
yeah, they
without
probably did.
this level of
Vigor?
chivalry.
Yeah, cool. Because
Attention.
the seller can't do anything. They signed the paperwork, so they can't do anything. If Wizard says, "Hey, you screwed up, and we're revoking your license," that's just it for them.
Right.
You know, because it's probably like a local card shop or whatever. You know what I mean? Whatever they get, they
Yeah.
get. But
But
the
I
guy,
think the other,
yeah,
but I think the other takeaway from all of this, and then we can pack up and move to the next room or whatever. But like, if you're a streamer or if you're gonna stream or try to get your career going in streaming, you need to understand that you're dealing with companies, corporations, and they play for fucking keeps.
Yeah.
And you need to know what you're doing, and you need to be doing it right, not just doing it because everybody else is doing it. And I think that is I mean, I think I've had a lot of friends of mine that were like, yeah, I'm going to get into streaming. And within like, they get like a really huge spike in viewership and they get the high, but then they try to do something stupid or they try to bring on a host or a guest and they ask the wrong questions, or they try to get product and then they try to advance that product before the NDA, before the embargo lifts, and then they get screwed. And you gotta know what you're doing, man.
Yeah,
you can't
like,
just
I mean-
be like, I'm gonna get started streaming and hope somebody watches my shit.
yeah. Like I want to run games from Pinnacle here soon on this channel, but in order to do that, I have to first get consent from Pinnacle to do it. If I put Savage Worlds game on here without their consent, they can rip this entire channel off the internet. You know what I mean? And that's well within their rights.
Snatch your head back so fast.
And they would never do that because they don't care. But it is what it is.
But other game companies might.
Yeah,
other game companies
Wizards would.
Like, oh, Wizards of the Coast, yeah.
Yeah.
Weird.
It's like the
Yeah,
new
Wizards
Swatted.
would.
You've been Pinkertoned.
Yeah.
It's almost like there's like this kid that's just throwing a tantrum at this point. and
Well,
just,
they don't know how to operate within the gaming community. They don't actually know how we operate and how closely we watch all of this stuff. And so they thought that they could do it the same way they do with G.I. Joe. If you put the G.I. Joe that's supposed to come out a week early, that's not. I mean, they could do that. They could be a dick to whoever has that G.I. Joe, and no one's going to care. But Magic the Gathering people pay attention to Magic the Gathering news. D&D people
Right.
pay attention to D&D news.
oh, no, I agree.
We're all over it. You know what I mean? That's why like who like any open license for anything else wouldn't have made it into the news, but the OGL made it to national news because we cried so much. And who the
Right.
hell is reading OGLs other than RPG kids? You know what I mean? Like that's just it. Like who's reading open licenses for other stuff? Like
Oh,
like
the
how
rules
often?
lawyers.
I'm making sure my pact with the demon in Avernus is ironclad. That's what I'm doing.
You
It's just
can't
like
get away from me.
like who's reading just like Creative Commons stuff for people? You know what I mean? Only the gaming community does that. So
all the rules
I mean,
lawyers.
they just
Yeah.
don't get it. They just don't get it. They don't get that this is how we operate. So
Right.
Nobody likes rules lawyers.
Says you.
We read the rule book so we know what rules we can and
break.
can't break,
yeah,
Look,
and we
okay.
can bend.
Look, okay, on page 209, it says that rules lawyers are pretty awesome. So you should
No, doesn't say that.
No, look.
I know what
hey,
209 says. No.
See? Yeah, see?
Oh.
Per the rule book, it says listen to your game master, and he's always right. And also,
She's always
you
right.
can- whatever.
You know,
As-
I have that same book, and I don't remember reading that anywhere.
It's because you, by your own admission, are illiterate. Anyway,
So,
Ooh.
Matt, you want to go over some other news that we
What's
might want to
illiterate
talk
mean?
about?
Constipated.
okay.
Oh, gotcha.
So, so let's see. Really, speaking of the good guys in this fight, Wizards of the Coast is clearly not them, but the good guys, of course, are
What?
the guys over at Paizo who do Pathfinder, and they have been since the OGL fiasco. Well, really since before the OGL fiasco, but especially after the OGL fiasco, they have been in the process of divorcing themselves from everything connected to Wizards of the Coast and
Yeah.
the D&D OGL, as they've moved toward building the online what's it called? It's
Orc.
the Orc. It's the Orc, but I can't remember the acronym. I was literally looking at it just a second ago. It's basically Paizo's version of the OGL,
OGL, yeah, that's
except it
non-revocable.
it's not revocable and everything else. And the Paizo guys are actually the ones who originally wrote the third edition OGL,
Yeah.
so they know what's what.
Yeah.
So they have recently announced that Pathfinder Second Edition has been out and been played enough that, and also the books are kind of scattered in terms of what all is in them. So they're actually going back and they're remastering Pathfinder 2E with like kind of rearranging where, like, pulling things from different books and putting them all into, like, if this is a player option, then we're putting it in the player's book,
Okay.
what they call the player's core. If it's a new DM rule, they're taking it out and putting it in the game master's core.
Gotcha.
There's going to be 4 total books released.
Yeah.
And at Gamma this year, which is the game. Oh God, I used to remember this, but it's in Ohio. It's the game. It's like the game industry
Yeah.
convention. It's not like a fan convention where
It's like NAMM
people
for
dress
music.
up and do all this other shit. It's literally just
Yeah.
a business. It's business
Yeah.
shit. And
Business, baby.
what is especially well, and it's cool because it actually allows. I have friends of mine that live in Ohio and whatnot, and they get involved in like the game expos and shit like that.
Yeah.
No,
But-
your dog's freaking out.
But so, and I just shared this into the chat, into the
Where did
our
he
private
go?
private chat. Oh, good times. Tell us about it.
Here.
What's up? I agree.
Here.
I think
I'll
I think
mute
the
her.
D12 is the D12 is a vastly underrated die.
It is. It actually is.
The D4, yeah, I think the D4 shouldn't even be there. I think it costs more to make a D4 than it does to
D4s
good
are
job, Mark.
pointy.
They do have a point. You do have a point.
They do have a point. See,
In the,
I see what you did there.
But in the messenger chat, in the backstage messenger chat, I shared a link that actually shows some of the Ashcan, some of the new. It's like a pencil line drawings of the new Pathfinder books.
They look
of
good.
The GM and player core, and they're really good. I suggest looking them up. I found the images from tabletopgamingnews.com, but I would recommend
Nerd.
looking them up. Looking up the what they look
like
really
I said
awesome.
earlier, we keep on top of that stuff. You know, it's what we do.
Fucking nerds.
And
all
well,
of you.
the cool thing is these Ashcan editions are like limited edition. I think they're probably going to be Gen Con exclusive or Gen Con exclusive, Gamma, whatever, like convention exclusive type stuff.
Yeah, those are kind of cool.
Which,
as
if anybody is
well
looking to go
as-
to Gen Con, let me know. We should plan a trip out to Gen Con for anybody who's looking to
for
go.
reasons, yeah.
Yeah.
But also the big thing about, because games release revised editions all the time.
Yeah.
But what's relevant about this is Path 2E revised is looking to get rid of, or 2E remastered is what it's called, is looking to get rid of the last vestiges of its original connection to D&D.
To DD. Yeah.
So A lot of the exclusive races that are like trademarked specifically to
Yeah.
Dungeons and Dragons are being taken out of the monster guide. The alignment system is being removed entirely, which
Good.
I'm a huge fan of.
Good.
And I lie. I misread this paragraph. The sketch cover editions, the one I just sent, are intended to support local game stores.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
Wow, that's even nicer.
I like it.
So-
Is it Paizo who's also releasing the Vanguard books? Which is another orc based game. It was like it's supposed to
I
be like a
wanna say so.
5e. It's like it's 5e without all the 5e copyrighted stuff. And so it's
Yeah.
completely compatible. It's cross compatible, but they have like I think the way the races work, it works like what we were talking about last time, where you choose a lineage. So
Yeah.
so yeah, I think it's going to a Kickstarter. I just saw Jenny D talk about it because Jenny D is Bay, and if she posts a video, I watch it. But yeah,
Oh wow. Okay, sorry. I went back and I'm still rereading the article and coming up with even more shit. Like those editions are going to be exclusively in game stores for 4 months and will not
Okay.
be offered online or bookstore retailers.
that's
So
another
it's
thing that
exclusively game stores.
that's
that
another
you
thing
get
that
that
I
copy
want to
from.
talk
That's
about is
kinda
how
cool.
like Wizards just completely screwed their FLGS people. Because if you
Yeah.
look how much a player's handbook cost online on Amazon versus how much it costs in a store, it's like,
Well-
oh, like that's
well,
insane. It's like $20 difference.
Well, here's the other thing. Like, as I remember it, they were releasing the regular D&D book through all the usual channels. But then,
Yeah.
if you wanted here's a blast from the past, Kristen. But if you wanted the
Oh, God.
custom, pretty, like
Yeah.
spiffy
I
book,
love it.
right? You had to get this from a game store. You
Yeah.
couldn't get it from somewhere else. And the thing is, as of right now, I could go to Amazon right now and probably buy the entire collector's edition covers for every book they've released through Amazon. And that and probably some of those are like it's being like brokered third party through Amazon.
Yeah,
that
but they
defeats
still
the
have
entire
control. They
purpose
still
of
have
supporting
control.
the game store.
Yeah.
You know,
'Cause, I mean, they could ban that ISBN on Amazon whenever they want to. They choose not to, so that's yeah. But I guess let's move
Yeah.
on. Next
absolutely.
topic is maps versus theater of the mind for combat.
You're being kind of pushy, Joe.
Oh, I'm sorry, you have anything more to say about it?
No, I had nothing else to add.
Okay. Okay.
you got places to be.
I'm just playing with
just-
you, man.
I just want to make sure we get some topics in. Yeah.
Topics.
I'll talk all day about how much I hate Wizards of the Coast, and maybe that should
Fair.
be one stream. Is just us just
Right?
talking shit about Wizards of the Coast because we just
Wait,
need a whole day
wait,
to get it
do
out of
you-
our
That's how you
systems.
get the Pinkerton installed on you.
That's
Wait,
fine.
do
They can come to
do
my
you
house.
Wait, do you hate Wizards of the Coast?
Yeah.
This is new
I
information.
couldn't tell.
How weird.
All I'm saying is, if you look at like all the other gaming companies and how they run their ships, and you look at Wizards of the Coast, they're not a gaming company. Like, look at how Paizo is
No.
just like, yeah, we're going to help the FLGSs. Look at Chaosium and the quality of their books for the price versus Wizards of the Coast quality of their
Yes.
books for the price. It's just not even close.
Let's look at
It's not even close.
Chaosium, including
I
7C.
like Chaos.
Yeah, Chaosium is. I love Chaosium. I think Jeff Richards is one of the coolest people ever, and because he just makes the best books he can for the price that he has. So yeah, I mean, I
like the people that do shit for the love of the thing
Yeah.
that they're doing.
yeah, for the love of it. And Wizards doesn't have that. It does amongst its employees, but not amongst the people who actually make decisions. So
Well, it's because they became a conglomerate, and
yeah. It
Once they
It's-
put business people in charge instead of gamers
Nerds?
in
Oh.
charge, that's when they
Yeah.
changed it.
To reiterate my favorite quote from The Crow, the idea has become the institution. It's time to move on.
yeah.
Mhm.
So speaking of maps.
So
Nope. Nope.
Nope,
Nope.
go
Nope.
you don't
What?
like maps?
I don't like Dora the Explorer, but I
Yeah. She has a cool backpack
I'm the
though.
map.
That's a very handy backpack.
no. Have I told you why I don't like her?
No.
My son was little and he was watching Dora, and she's like, "Who do we ask whenever we're lost and we don't know where to go?" And I was like, "An adult." And she goes, "The map." I said, "First off, not a person. Second off, bad advice. We've never watched Dora
Yeah.
since."
Yeah. That's
But
true.
no,
Yeah.
y'all seen how I run games. I prefer Theater of the Mind just because it's. I want to, instead of providing you guys with a canned thing, I want to see what y'all are seeing in your head. Like, I want to know how that looks for you guys. So
Well,
that's
when
my
we
opinion.
did the murder house map
Yeah.
for the crater, when we dealt with the children of Adam and Mother Isolde.
Oh, I guess when I say map, I'm talking about like a fully fleshed out like Roll20 thing,
Mhm.
as far and not just a bunch of squares on a piece of paper where you can tell where you're going.
Right. Well, that's what I was getting to. Is that just gives you the the base of, okay,
Mhm.
this we know we're going. These are the directions that we can go. But as far as how everything looks, you know, it's going to look similar to, you know, just cobblestones and just
Mhm.
dungeon, and the way that you think of the catacombs, and just, dampness, and just
Mhm.
ick, and just wet for some reason.
Why is it always wet? I don't know.
And it's always dark and damp, and you and you get that smell, and you know what it is. It's that mud, not fresh mud smell.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so
I-
those things that you can see. um and some people have an easy time visualizing that.
Mhm.
When my husband, he'll get on to me because I have seizures, so I sometimes be a little absent. And when I'm looking at something and I'm in my head, I'm like, okay, this can go here, this can go here, this can go here, and I'm doing that in my head. And I'm like, yeah, I'm thinking, I'm working on this, I'm visualizing, and he
Mhm.
can't visualize like that.
Um. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, some people don't really think in terms of pictures. Like that's one of the issues that some people think in terms of words and all of that.
Mhm.
Um. So I guess for me, it depends on the group and it depends on the game. So games that are high in combat, I have to have a map for.
That makes
Like
sense.
if I'm running 3.5 with flanking rules and all that, not having a map is highly it's
Right.
a lot harder to do. Also pinnacle games like any Savage Worlds game, having a map just helps out quite a bit because it's integrated into the game. They expect you to have a map. That's why the pace is in map numbers.
Right.
Um, but if I'm playing a Powered by the Apocalypse game, I'm not going to touch a map. You know what I mean? Like I don't need that. It just depends on the game. And depends on the vibe, depends on the players if they can actually imagine it or not. Because sometimes you just get a bunch of big beards and they're just like, we just want to kill a bunch of goblins, and so you just throw 50 goblins on a
Right.
table and then just like, hey, go kill them, and that's fine. It
Well, I
depends on
mean,
the
I guess
players.
I've pulled up a few like Fallout pictures to be like, okay, tell me where you're at and what you're doing. But I
Yeah,
think that it gives me a better
Just
idea of what you're trying to convey, so that I can give you a better story. But I don't know. I always preferred play pretend instead of
yeah,
props.
yeah,
So, like, with where we're at in our current campaign, we're at Fort Strong, and we've all played Fallout 4, so we all know what Fort Strong looks like.
yeah,
So we got,
Mhm.
we just looked at the map real quick of, okay, this, we know it's essentially like a peninsula. Got it.
yeah,
So we know that
Right.
we're going here, and just kind of going straight-ish, as straight as you can go on a post-apocalyptic road after
yeah.
You just walk
220
so straight.
years.
Yeah, but I mean, also we have a
Sorry.
simplified version of the rules. So like if we're
That's
playing
true.
like say Shadowrun, Rift, something like that, where cover becomes extremely important,
Yes.
having a map just makes it easier for both you and your players. Trust me,
Well,
like
so everybody
having
knows they're on the same page.
yeah, especially in a game with guns. Like any game with guns, having maps helps out quite a bit. Cyberpunk, same thing. It's like all of those games, just having a map there when it gets into really highly detailed combat.
Yeah.
Can't just, and also whenever I run a Cyberpunk game, I use maps anyway, just because they're planning stuff out. So to try to get a lay of the land in actual concrete terms. And so having a
Right.
map of like the level that they have to infiltrate and all that is important anyway.
Well, that's what I
But,
say. I've seen some of maps, Cyberpunk maps, and they're legit.
Yeah.
Like for it, but I just can't. I don't have the patience either to do it.
Yeah. And you don't need to. You could just do a basic, scribble. Sometimes that's fine. But for me personally, I like to do the video maps just because they actually they actually give me ideas for encounters
Right.
when I look at like pre-made maps, and that helps me create a story, if that makes sense.
All right. Hold on one second. Sorry.
You're good.
What's going on? Cord doesn't work.
Oh,
Okay.
I think that
I think Yeah.
Well, first off, I think that most of my positions are already put out here by everybody, but the first things first. For me, there's a couple of things. One, most of my gaming is done virtually. And also I know my attention deficit disorder. I will gloss over or glaze over details of how the rain is falling on the cars and bouncing
Yeah.
at a specific angle, and like all of the like interactive descriptive word soup that traditional game mastery is known for, right?
Yeah.
Like you step
That
into
uses
the
your five
cold,
senses.
yeah, you
Yeah.
step into the cold street, and the smell of this assaults your like
I have a hard
a
time with that too.
I have a hard enough time keeping track of literally every person in the entire city. I don't
Yeah.
have my brain doesn't give me the bandwidth for that. And so
Hold on. I've never been able to have a table of players that will let me finish anything that's descriptive like that.
I mean, you
Well-
also have a table full of ADHDers right now, so
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
cast Fireball.
Yeah.
We're like not
Well-
playing D&D.
in all honesty, a solution that I've found that works very well to that is just to say, look, no, it's box text. Like you're in a cinema or you're in a cinematic. Like
Yeah.
you're in a cutscene. Like you can't act.
Yeah.
Because
It's-
and I think that if you set that standard with your group early, they're more okay with it as you use it than
Yeah.
if you're just suddenly drop it on people and they're like, but I want to just shoot the guy before he can finish talking.
Yeah, well, it's too late now, so I've already created monsters.
Well, and that's when you're like, no, we're in a cutscene. And all of us, I mean, we have the background in role playing games, but we all also play video games. We know what a cutscene is. And younger people, when you tell them they're in a cutscene, like they know
Yeah.
what it means. Like,
Yeah.
okay,
You can't
'cause
press skip.
well, because it's not just because the thing is this, and I've mentioned it before. My game master style is very TV movie oriented. I actively break the fourth wall and talk about where the camera is going, and so because I'm trying to show them things, I'm trying to tell them a story. They're playing a character, but I'm still trying to tell them a story.
Yeah.
And there are times when Altair walks away from the camera, but the camera stays behind because you need to see the two of them like cross their fingers at each other or whatever. So by that same token, going to maps, like whenever I'm running a virtual game, I try to I use the money that they give me to be a patron of these people that will put out like 4K animated high resolution maps of neo-noir city streets, right? Because that's first off, that's the experience they're paying me for.
Yeah.
And also because I know that I'm going to miss those visual cues. I'm going to miss the auditory and the olfactory cues. So I want to give them that. Now that is when I'm running a professional paid whatever, and even when I'm running like not professional games, like when I'm not paid games, but also like with Cyberpunk, with Shadowrun, like you were talking about, like where you are when the shit hits the fan is real and matters. Whereas if I'm running, say, any of the Modiphius stuff, any of the 2D20, um, map combat in those games are incredibly subjective and fluid.
Mhm.
I have a series of images. Welcome back. I have a series of images that
Welcome back.
I went into Fallout 4, or I went into Fallout 76, and I took pictures of Morgantown Airport. I took a picture of Morgantown Airport, and I triplicated it. I made 3 copies of it. And in one of them, because Modiphius doesn't use squares or inches
Yeah, they
or anything
use
else.
zones.
They use zones.
So neither does the Bethesda when they're trying to do building. Sorry.
Yeah. But
That's true.
so the thing is, I took this one picture of Morgantown Airport and I broke it up, and like on the one picture there's only like 3 or 4 zones, and
Yeah.
that's like, it's not really, there's a fight happening here, but it's not really, there's nothing really important going on, whatever. And then there was another one I broke into like 6 zones that was like, there's some things you need to recover, there's potentially some cover or other terrain you could abuse, there's at least 1 or 2 cars you could bullet detonate, but they're in specific areas, and I want you to have to go through the process of getting to them. And then finally I did one that was cut into like 8 pieces where like each tent was its own zone. And I would imagine using that map for something like, Jen, I'm going to kidnap you real quick in this game, but like Jen's character's been abducted and she's stashed in one of these tents somewhere. So we're going through the process. So we're having to go through the process of moving while under fire, while fighting off whoever we're fighting, checking tent after tent. Because it's the exact same physical space, but the narrative zones are different based on what you're trying to convey in the scene. Now, does that always work? Not always. Does it help for understanding things like, taking it over to Star Trek for a second, if you're fighting in engineering, knowing which side of the center console in engineering you're on can be important. But they also don't really have flanking rules. They don't really have other things like this. And then all the way to the other side of the extreme, you've got like 7th Sea. I have never run a map-based 7th Sea game ever. First edition still used maps, but that's because they were still bound to this idea of to this older style of game.
Hold on. Does anyone find it ironic that a pirate game doesn't use maps?
I don't.
Yeah.
No, that tracks.
Yeah.
That tracks.
You're going into uncharted territory. You're making your own map.
But I mean, like, that is like a staple of piracy, is gold,
Right.
maps, and boats, ships.
Well,
Sorry,
they
ships,
can't
find
boats,
the map.
Navy people.
Look, they can't use the map on the table because they're busy using it to find treasure.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Anyway. Yeah,
Mm.
you're welcome. GM to the stars, I am.
Ew.
At any rate, but likewise, like with 7th Sea, like I've never had any secret that 7th Sea is probably my favorite. 7th Sea 2nd edition, probably one of my favorite role-playing games of all time.
Because it's the best.
And it doesn't use maps. First off, because if you
Yeah.
tried to institute movement system in 7th Sea, you would have a heart attack, because it's not just moving over from point A to point B and swinging your sword. It's like, I'm going to grab the chandelier and cut it with my sword and fly across the room. And then I'm going to grab I'm going to slide down a balustrade and end up on the ground floor, like 3 feet from where I started.
Yeah.
Like, all in one
That
turn.
definitely
Like, you
sounds
just
like
can't
Noah's
keep
Alley right
shit
there.
moving. Like, there's too
Very
many
Errol
moving
Flynn.
pieces.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But-
yeah.
but
It's
the
supposed
other-
to be cinematic, though. It's supposed to be
Yeah,
very cinematic.
And the other strength of that is, and like you were talking about before, about how seeing a map with an artist's interpretation of, let's say, a cobblestone road in Roman England gives you ideas, because the artist is inspiring you to give you ideas
Yeah.
on the flip side of that coin, like because we are all singularly neurodivergent in beautiful ways. If I say
ADHD, baby.
if I say you guys are in a very stately dining hall in 16th, 17th century France, like we all each have different ideas
Yeah.
about what could be there.
Yeah.
And to be absolutely honest, ready for this? To be absolutely honest, show of hands, how many of you immediately when I said that thought of a pepper shaker? Like a peppercorn grinder. Right.
Wait.
Because it's there, it's a dining hall, but
Yeah.
and this is the beauty of not having a map.
Yeah,
having a
because they'll
drawn
ask,
map.
"Is this here?" You just say, "Yeah, it is here." Because
Yeah,
let's
and
say
seven-
you want to
and-
hit somebody
yeah.
with the pepper grinder, it's like, "Is there a pepper grinder in front of me?" Well, yeah, you probably would have one of those at that
Oh
table.
yeah, shit, yeah, there'd be
Yeah.
one there. Yeah.
Before you
And-
said
yeah.
when it was, you said a stately dining hall. My first thought was the White Spring in '76. That's
Yeah,
exactly
yeah.
what I pictured. That ugly ass carpet and all the
the
setting
gaudiest
there.
accessories. Yeah,
and
Yes.
then
yeah,
but and that's the important thing, especially when you're dealing with and I guess this is a weird way to be like yay for neurodivergence, but
Yeah.
when you're dealing with a group of incredibly neurodivergent people, you get those kind of like, okay, cool, well, is there a random hole in the ground?
yeah.
I mean, I guess there could be, sure.
Yeah.
Okay, cool, I'm going to use that hole in the ground to rewrite the entire, put the entire earth on its
Yeah.
axis. Like,
But I mean, like there's this for
That's
basic
a- that's a-
Imagine
stuff.
that's
being
an
the only
extreme-
neurotypical person among all of you guys. It's really
oh
hard.
my god.
I mean, like,
Yeah,
but
okay,
it can even
lady.
it can even be as simple as just like they're fighting outside. It's like, hey, is there a rock I can hide behind? Yeah, sure, there's a rock because it automatically makes it more interesting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Because
it's like
and
yeah, sure,
because-
there's a rock.
Or Kristen does this with a roll and see what it is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, a
figure
roll.
it
Yeah,
out.
is there a rock? Yeah,
And-
yeah.
and it's also
It might
Amazing.
be.
amusing.
Nice
Fuck if
does.
I know.
Well, it's also amusing. It's also amusing when you know the system. Like once you understand the system you're playing, it becomes so much easier to like. Okay, you want to go hide behind a cart? Sure. Now that doesn't mean that I'm not gonna like grab the reins of a horse and like use it to like speed me past your cover, and now your
Yeah.
cover means nothing. Like because you can do that, or you can use it, and in 7C you create a complication that the other person has to address before they can deal with it. And so, but that kind of give and take, that kind of communal storytelling, really, once it gets going, right?
Yeah.
It's
Really
it's
beautiful.
it's amazing. And yes, we've joked about some. I'm going to be flat honest. We've joked about some incredibly disgusting shit out of our 7C game, but it's
I have no
I know
idea what you're talking about.
if the group is. I love how the two guilty people are like, "What? I didn't do that."
Hey, whoa, 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 whoa,
What?
whoa. No,
But-
Innocent until
Horses.
proven guilty.
Horses. You literally told a story about mounting sex horses. Moving on.
All right, so we're gonna have to send the
Right.
Pinkertons to get
But-
you guys' session notes and see what we got there.
But
Ah.
but the thing is being open to letting the other people's freak flag fly and letting their unique divergences like and enhance the story. Like, yeah, it goes in a really wild place, and sometimes I don't even feel comfortable, but at the same time I know that we're going ultimately in the right direction, and I'm willing to let that slide
Yeah,
because I know where we're headed,
yeah.
and
Can you trust me?
I have to.
Ah,
But at any rate,
terrifying.
but that,
We had to
so-
trust Noah with a vertibird.
Yeah.
Yeah. this is
Technically,
so
we didn't
weird.
trust him. It just kind of happened, and we just had to deal with it. Like it was.
But did you die?
A lot of
I
people
mean-
did, actually.
Yeah, a lot of people
Really?
died. A lot of
Well,
people died.
nobody here died, so.
Yeah,
I
I
did-
mean, but that
I
was
did.
only because of good dice rolls. I still like. I really want to do the math on like the probability of that ever
Oh,
happening
it was
again.
astronomical.
Yeah, like it was
died.
not supposed to happen. Like it was like the stars aligning. You know what I mean? It's like
yeah.
the Herculean tale.
Hey, You're good. You're good.
What do you think, Noah? What do you think about maps?
So, I'm kind of torn because I mean,
Get some
I
take-
use a mixture of
Yeah.
maps and theater of the mind, and that's just the way I like to do it. Like I like them to have some kind of visual representation, of what they're looking at, but also like the maps that I do are just, I guess you would say, battle maps,
Yeah.
right? And I mean, it is what it is. They can, okay, well, if the enemy is right here and you're over here, and what are you doing? And there's
Yeah,
all
yeah.
this shit in the way. Cool, got it. All right. Sometimes, um, like sometimes if I'm in a very specific area that, like, there's a lot of different rooms or whatever, I will use a map. And I have my little notes behind my screen, and it's I'll just put on there in no particular order, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
up in
yeah,
the corner.
yeah.
And so they
Numerical
know they're
order?
okay.
Weird.
They're in room 1, and then room 1 is the fucking barracks, whatever, right?
Like a game of Clue.
That I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of. But I just use it as a
It's like a map with a key, just to keep all your thoughts in line. Yeah, I get that.
yeah, and it also, with me having ADHD,
Mm,
that's autism and the ADD.
Yeah.
It helps. It really helps me more than anybody,
Yeah.
because I'm like, listen, I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I come up with some pretty cool shit, and then I don't fucking remember what that cool shit was, because I'm like,
Yeah.
well, that's just a big square in the middle of the map. What the fuck was that supposed to be? Fuck, what room is that? Shit, or I'll
Yeah,
just blow by it entirely. So
Well,
I
as
like
a
a good map, but
GM,
also I like to paint the
Be
picture
free. Yeah.
myself.
yeah. Well, as a GM, you have so many balls in the air as it is, and then with
you have
your
no idea.
um with all the balls in the
Yeah.
air, and then when you add some neurodivergent traits to it, you end up with you're
Some?
spinning around in a circle looking at the
Yeah.
squirrels and trying to
Ma'am?
catch the balls that are in the air.
Yeah.
We prefer the term neurospicy.
Which is
Neurospicy.
which is a very polite way of saying autism.
Yeah.
A touch of it, just a touch of the tism.
Yeah.
Oh no, that shit slapped the fuck out of me.
Yeah. I'm kind of in the same boat. I'm like, I'm pretty sure I have the tism, but like my psychiatrist is like, well, you have so much other stuff that it could, like, you might as well have autism even if you don't have autism at this point. Though it's like, oh, okay, cool.
Bro, I
I've
somehow
never once
got on.
heard you might as well have autism. Like, what the fuck, man?
Yeah,
Listen,
if you
I
have,
somehow.
if your PTSD is strong enough, you like it presents as autism, like
Like
not
you
wanting
level
to be
up. Yeah.
touched.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Ask
So I
ask your doctor
somehow
if
found
autism is right
myself
for you.
on
Yeah.
autism TikTok. I have no clue how I got there,
Oh my god.
but at least twice a week I send Kristen a TikTok, and I was like, "Bitch, this is me."
Yeah, and they're all just autism is prime.
Yeah. Which is
That's
fine.
me,
It's a
Captain
it's a
Autism.
superpower. It's a superpower. You know what I mean? Like I
That's
just use
right.
a superpower.
Dang.
But I mean, so for me, like here's my thing. I use battle maps, especially like video-based battle maps, as like a set piece, like a centerpiece for like a big battle or something like that. Something where I know what I want it to be spectacular, and it's just gonna be right in front of them, and there's like it's got all the bells and whistles, but it's mostly as a battle scene. Like okay, like we're just
Yeah.
gonna be fighting here, and it's all shiny and glimmery, but I don't need to do a ton of exposition on the actual room itself. Because I'm gonna be doing a ton of exposition on what your characters are doing, because they're gonna be doing a lot because it's a big set piece battle. Whereas encounters, I just like a lot of times, that's just gonna be theater of the mind because it's a lot quicker. Um, well, and it depends. Like I said, Savage Worlds, I'm probably using battle maps for all of it. You know what I mean? Just because it's the game is based around battle maps, but most of the time for a lot of games, like I'm just gonna do the maps for like the really, really, really important big stuff that I know for sure is going to happen, and then like any encounters, I just do it in my head because your characters are always going to have encounters that you did not plan for, and so it's just like okay, well,
Facts.
that's fine.
And y'all
Yeah.
know, like, I am an observer of people. I observe patterns. I observe tendencies. I observe
Yeah.
things like that. Just because it's not neurodivergent, it's trauma.
Yeah.
But
Like I said, if you might have it. You might as well have autism if you have enough trauma because it's the same
I
pattern recognition.
I agree. But you know what I'm saying? Like, I observe these things, but I've also noticed that in the instances where I give my tables a map, they stop doing all the cool shit they were doing.
It depends. It depends.
Like if we're in the middle of a fight scene and y'all are doing all this badass stuff, like for 7th seat, swinging from the chandeliers and all that stuff, and then I put a map down, y'all are gonna start calculating and y'all are gonna start like trying to figure out like the science behind it instead of just like enjoying the action of the moment.
I
I
don't
don't
know
know.
who
We
this
had a
y'all is
map
you
and
speak of.
somebody's arm fell off and he was slinging shit everywhere.
Yeah.
That was
See, like
true.
my
That's
Hey,
true.
my
it was an
ideal
effective strategy.
It was a
my ideal situation is I discovered virtual tabletops, right?
Yeah.
Specifically Tailspire, where I can completely render a fully functioning, like ground up environment. Houses, buildings. I can import
I know
minis
that's
from
true.
Hero Forge. There is a cinematic mode in there to where, like, if I had a pre-planned thing that was going to happen, I could visualize that,
You
right?
plan your tables?
I plan them. They don't go according to plan, but I plan them meticulously.
Yeah.
But my ideal situation would be to do kind of a mixture of that with some
Yeah.
theater of the mind. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I'm starting the process here pretty soon when my wife and I are going to build a house, and when I do, one of the things that I get to do is expand this tiny little game room and actually make a actual game room big
There
enough
you
to
go.
fit a actual tabletop table.
Wow.
And so it will have a giant 85-inch screen in the middle of said table,
Yeah.
which would be perfect for something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So I can have a big giant fucking map. Everybody, this is where everybody's at. Here's your fucking mini, whatever.
That's
blah,
how
blah,
I
blah.
run my house games. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean,
And
yeah.
but like for Kristen's games, because
That me.
she's the only one that I play in online. The rest of them are all in person. You kind of theater of the mind is kind of the way to go, I would say,
Yeah,
for online.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
because it's just I don't know. I'm gonna out myself here. I never fucking pay attention to the maps that she puts up on screen in the first place. But that's
I mean, I
just me.
do.
Really,
I do. I have.
that's new information to me. I had never noticed that.
Yeah,
I-
but again, she'll tell you,
Who knows?
or is all of you know? I just go with the flow. Where are we
as-
going? Cool. I'm tagging along.
As someone who has tried to play in a Roll20 game with all the bells and whistles, I can agree with that. It's just so much easier just to do Theater of the Mind online.
Mhm.
Owlbear Rodeo, I might do Owlbear Rodeo maps, you know what I mean? But most of the time, it's just like, just do Theater of the Mind before you go crazy, you know? Like, it's like, because like having to drag all the minis and all that, and it's just like, okay, I don't actually care, you know what I mean? Especially not for a short encounter
Well,
where
that's
we're
why
just beating the shit out of some goblins for some information.
Or you're covered in
Jesus
shit trying
Christ.
to find something.
Yeah.
I know we just spent the last like all of the show and all the previous shows just dunking on Wizards, but I'm actually really kind of pumped to see their virtual tabletop just to see what it can do
Well,
and see if maybe I can bend it and break it to my own will. Maybe,
yeah,
you know?
that's your jam. I
'Cause,
mean,
like,
if that's what you want,
there's-
go for it.
but it's just there's tools that I would like to see that I know have been like when they were doing their like R&D phase of like
Yeah.
hey, what would you like to see in a VTT, and people were talking about it. Like one of the things that I saw a lot was most VTTs are singular control, right? Which
Yeah.
means you as the GM have all the control. But like, I mean, if I can work it to where hey, I have control of the map and everything, but the players have individual control of their own characters.
That
could
seems
be
dangerous.
but I mean, like, not
I mean,
total control.
Roll20
but,
does that.
like,
Foundry does that too. Foundry
Yeah,
they
it
can control
does.
the characters.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's control your tokens and shit.
I mean, here's my thing about that. Okay, first of all, enjoy paying the $30 a month or whatever they're going to charge you just for the basic package, plus every single microtransaction for every single other nice looking building that you want. It
That's fine.
sounds
Listen
great.
to Ray, baby.
It sounds great, but it's just like I don't know. It'll add up fast. But I say that as a Fallout 76 player.
I was gonna say, are you talking about Bethesda?
Yeah, it's the same thing. No, because
EA, I
Bethesda's
think,
at
is the
least
king of
yeah.
microtransactions.
But yeah, I mean, Foundry and Roll20, a lot of the other Alba Rodeo, they all allow the players to control their characters.
Well,
I was
I
looking at
really
Roll20
wanted to.
yesterday.
Oh, really?
Roll20's all right. I
Yeah.
really wanted to learn how to do Foundry. I wanted to use it so bad, and I can't.
Yeah.
I'm not that smart. And I'd have to call Matthew and be like, I need you to learn this for me.
I'm in the process of learning Fantasy Grounds, but it's.
I can for me, it's just like I would have to go the bat route, which is to get paid to do it, because otherwise I just would not spend that much time on something like that. It's like I would have to get paid to do that. That's my thing.
See, I think I would do it, and then when I started getting paid, I'd get mad at it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the thing is this: like, clearly, especially since the pandemic, the bulk of my gaming has been on virtual tabletops, and
Yeah.
in order to and my experience on virtual tables is I've had to, like, I had 2 games that were running weekly on 2 different game systems, so I had to pick up the tools. I had to understand them, or else it was going to be a really crappy couple of really crappy sessions that I wasn't going to be proud of. And now, like, I do have a handful of systems that I run and I have built in my Foundry setup. Like, I've got the Fantasy Flight Star Wars stuff. I'm almost finished building.
Which looks
Wow.
really cool.
Building the compendium folders. I've got The Witcher completed. I've got Star Trek completed. I've got Fallout. Don't ask me about the Fallout. And I've got a lot. I've got 7C. I've got D&D. I've got and Cyberpunk. I've got all of those built out. Some of them because they were for paid games that I was running. Some of them because I'm planning on running the game, and I want to hit the ground running with it. And I think that the more, it's like any tool that you use. It's like a battle map, or it's like the vinyl maps out, or it's like, the vinyl maps, whether you're using a gigantic ass one like this, which Kristen would know this one, because this
I
is
know
the
what that
one
one is.
this is the one from the finale of when
yeah.
we ran
Yeah.
we ran not Lost Mine, but we ran something else. Or whether you're using a small one or a big one, or a whiteboard or a glass countertop that you're drawing maps on, or whatever, or virtual tables, like, the more frequently you use your tools, the better you're going to get with them. And I have friends of mine that can perform miracles on Roll20. I fumble like a spastic child with Roll20, but Foundry, I will dance circles around them, and they look at me like it's
I'm impressed with your Foundry skills. But am I the only one, and speaking GM to GM, am I the only one that I don't want to put that much effort in? I want to just play.
Yeah.
I don't
think
want to do the setup.
I mean, it depends. It depends on the game itself for me. Like, if it's a game that I want, like if I was running like my next upcoming games I'll be running for my home group is going to be Rifts and RuneQuest. I'm going to be doing a lot of preparation for those because it requires that. But if I was going to run a Powered by the Apocalypse game, I would just play. Like, if I was running Dungeon World, I would never make a map ever, and I would not care. I would just be like, let's just play.
I guess that's fair, but you'll also see how I run my tables, where things change so much so quickly. I'm afraid if I put so much effort into it, that it would be all for naught.
Well, you make it node based. You make it modular.
Well,
yeah.
I think that. Well, the thing is this, like, the way that I approach my game design, I think that's almost a full episode unto itself, is how to develop an adventure that is player proof or player resistant. Nothing is player proof.
Yeah, nothing's
Um,
player
Choose
proof,
your own
yeah.
adventure book.
Wait,
so
but
you will
it's
have
me though.
that
Like
kit.
I changed my mind 5,000 times.
Well, see, that's the problem. Is you have to get to a point when if you're
It's not
telling
a
a
problem.
story.
It's fun.
Well, no, the thing is this: like, if you're telling a story, right? Like, I want to tell the just using Fallout because a lot of us have Fallout experience. Like, let's say that I was the game master running Fallout 4, right?
Mhm.
And I want to tell the story of the fall of some faction in the Commonwealth and how things settle out. Like, I would start by coming up with like 4 or 5 tentpole moments. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mhm.
and I wouldn't change those. Like, one way or another, we're getting there. Because think about it, no matter what you do in Fallout, no matter what you do wandering the wasteland and settling settlements and listening to how awesome Preston Garvey is and all
Settlements
this other
need
stuff,
you.
the moment you step out of Fort Hagen, the Brotherhood arrives. And it's this big vista fucking cinematic shot that you look at your players when they're like, and cool, I break out my Fat Man and shoot it out of the sky. And you're like, no,
Jump
you're in
jet.
you're in a cutscene. Like, you don't get that.
No.
You know?
I like
would
your
actually,
enthusiasm.
I would actually let the player shoot it with a Fat Man.
Well, but the thing is, well,
I would let them do
but
it.
herein lies. But see, there's
It's the
that's
Brotherhood. I'd allow
but
it.
Yeah,
that's the fine
yeah.
line. Yeah, but see, that's the fine line between. Here's the thing: do you need the Brotherhood in your story? And if it's been established that the Brotherhood aren't in your story, how do you inject them into the story in a suitably we're setting the tone for how this is going to go kind of way?
I
And
suddenly had a bunch of deja vu.
the Brotherhood are very heavy-handed, so you're going to make them show up in a very heavy-handed sort of way.
Yeah.
And I'm not dissuading anything. I'm just saying that, like, whenever you're designing an adventure, then one way or another, your path is going to converge in Bunker Hill, and there's going to be a fight in Bunker Hill that propels you into the next thing. Well, that means I need a map of Bunker Hill. Boom. And then you just have it, and it's there. And the good thing about having built the map or having found the map online or whatever you want to do is that if you never need it, or if you never need it in that moment, right? You just roll that bastard up and you leave it on a shelf. And when finally the players show up at Bunker Hill, you go, oh, okay. Well, guess what? Now that you're here, there's a fight that breaks out. If that still makes sense to the story.
Right, but two things with that. I forget that I have the map. And secondly,
Oh.
it doesn't provide consistency because if I don't, I want it all to look the same. I want uniformity.
Well, okay.
But I don't want to make a map for everything. So we just use our brains.
Well, I mean, like
Yeah.
I said, there's
Yeah,
a combination. The thing is this: it ultimately it boils down to three levers here. One is the game's level of complexity and map necessity.
Yeah.
Mhm.
2, the story's requirement of a map or lack of, and 3, what the table's willing to tolerate. Because I have had D&D games where I have never laid a map out once.
Yeah.
D&D, and we're talking
That's
we're
weird
talking
though.
we're talking 3rd edition, we're talking 5th edition. 4th edition, you have to have a map because it's literally
it's
everything
wow.
is in squares and everything is ranged and whatever. But like I've run 3rd and 5th edition games where I've never once opened a fucking map. Whereas like with 7th Sea, I don't open maps, but what I do, and Kristen, you've played the 7th Sea game I've run, but nobody else has. Instead of laying out a map, what I'll do is, like, if we're in a like the Palace of Versailles, some similar building, I will go online and I will find pictures of the Palace of Versailles for, like, theater of the mind. They're not maps, but they're theater of the mind props.
I
They're
will
like,
agree
"Hey,
to that. I like that.
this is the kind of things you will see. It's almost like, for lack of a better phrase, and I wonder, I've never tried this. I might try it at some point. I might sign up for Pinterest and instead of creating maps, create pin boards
Yeah,
of things that
encounters.
remind me, or of things that remind me of this area. So like
That's a really good idea.
a
Like a vision
village.
board almost.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like a village. What are the things you're going to find in a village? Well, carts and merchants and
People.
things like this, and
The
you
town
get
drunk,
pictures. The town
village.
drunk, and you
the
throw
town
pictures.
bicycle.
Yeah, you throw
That's
pictures
me.
up, and I could see that. I want to try this now. I want to try running a game where literally instead of maps, it's literally just vision boards, like
Yep, and that could
of
work. That could work.
pictures. That it's like these are things in that space. Feel free to play. And that way
So-
you're not even dealing with a map. So somebody's like, I think there should be a ladder here. Okay, fine. There's a ladder here. The guy's got
So
the thing. It's
this-
great.
It's kind of off topic, but going back to the whole Brotherhood thing with the Pridwin coming in and all that for the cinematic,
Yeah.
I would let them shoot it down because I have one rule: don't put anything in front of the players that you don't want to die immediately. And if
Right?
you just follow
That's a good
that,
rule.
if you follow that, you will never be disappointed by your players. If you have a big bad evil guy, don't put him in front of the players before they're ready to deal with him. Like, let them kill all of his henchmen first, because they will, or they will capture or whatever. But they will like if you put them in front, especially it depends on the system too, right? Like I realize Savage Worlds, a first session Savage World character can kill a dragon if they get lucky enough because of exploding dice. So you just
Yeah.
can't. Like,
I'm not
just
mad. I'm
don't
just
put-
disappointed.
Yeah, just don't put your big bad evil guy or whatever the big set piece character is in that scene. So yeah, like they can shoot down the Pridwin, but Maxton
see, I
isn't on
think-
that ship.
But see, you ready for this? I'm ready to bust a bubble and start some fights. I think that means I think your players are shitty and they hate you.
No,
Like,
it's fine.
that's-
It's fine.
No,
No,
because
it's fine.
and I guess that's because like a lot of the games that I really enjoy playing are give and take. And what I'm hearing is that they are taking and not giving.
No,
like,
it's fine.
in
I like it. That
In
is
the-
giving
in
to
the
me. Like
Pridwin-
I don't want it to
Well-
be predictable. Like I
Well-
want them to do something like that because then I get to be on my toes and still guide it, but with all the unpredictable elements. That's what keeps
And
me
you get to
interested.
tell them of okay,
Which
Yeah.
I
Here's the-
love.
tell me how you
because
do
my
it.
tables are nuts.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
here's
like
the question. Why if you want this, if you're trying to build the group to this, and I guess I tell stories narratively or differently or whatever, but like I want to build to this big set piece. I want to build to the reveal of this lich. I want to build to the Pridwin showing up. I want to build to this thing that shows it's a signpost to the players that
Yeah.
we are about to go into a different direction. This game is no longer about
and,
fun.
and it still does.
Like-
That's the thing. It still does because like I said, like I'm not putting the main part of that, the thing that they really need to defeat in front of them immediately. I'm just sending them a signal like, hey, shit just got real. Now what they do with that shit just got real signal is up to them. But they now know that the wasteland is inundated with Brotherhood, whether they shoot down this ship or not. Like the by the time that ship comes, like the airport and everything is already like set in stone. For me, that's how I do it. So that like by the time if they want to fuck something up, they can. It doesn't matter because the by the time like those set pieces come into play, everything else has kind of already happened. Like the big bads have made more moves before they
Yeah.
show their hand. So by the time they show their hand, it's sort of like, well, okay, we're already in a solid position.
But by that logic, then before the player even sees the Pridwin. By the way, guys, spoilers for a fucking decade-long old game that's that's on basically every platform except Alexa, and it's about to be.
I mean, no, it's not. It's
so-
also
but-
not on calculators yet, but it will be
But the-
eventually.
But boobies
the-
are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well, here's a secret. Skyrim is on Alexa. So anyway,
yeah,
but where I'm going with this is using that same logic. You've got, like, by the way I'm hearing you describe the situation, by the time they see the Pridwin, the Brotherhood has already established itself at the airport and already raided Fort Strong for its arsenal. Like,
Probably not. Probably not. But
well,
I mean,
that-
they've
that-
established themselves
but
somewhere.
the whole thing is, the whole point about the Pridwin arriving is that they are arriving into the Commonwealth. They're not already settled, and I think that's, and I just, the thing is this, like, and I guess it's a
And
different, again,
that works for
it's
video
play-
games, but for RPGs, like if it's not interactable, like
But I
I'm
guess
just
it's
sort of
play-
like, why is it? Why
but I
not?
guess it's,
Like, you know what I mean?
but I guess it's player preference, because like
Yeah.
when I'm at my table, and don't get me wrong, Kristen has done some left field stuff. She's the only one who's played on tables that I've run, but she's done some left field stuff. But at the same time,
Hold
like,
on, I did not beat a motherfucker with another motherfucker. That was not me.
that's a difference. Yeah, I know. But where I'm going with this is that, like, if I've set up this set piece, then the groups I've played with in the past know, okay, Matt's got a point for this. He's got a plan for this, and he wanted
Yeah.
us to see this. And I guess again that goes back down to player preference, which
Yeah.
ties back to the whole map thing. Is like, is
Yeah.
it player preference that they want maps or not maps or whatever?
Yeah, I
So-
guess as a GM, my preference is I want to see them, see what their reaction to everything is. Like, I have an idea where the story is going and it's going to happen. Behind the scenes, things are going to happen regardless. You know, it's like the whole Powered by the Apocalypse moves, like all of the different organizations or whatever they're fighting are making moves, and then they hear about that, whether they interact with them or not. Things are happening in the background, so it's like,
Right.
you know, I'd rather them just interact with their world as much as possible and keep me on my toes, and they're always adjusting that world and making everything else react to what they are doing versus them reacting to what I am doing
Well,
most of
And
the
I
time.
run like you do. So
Yeah.
I have 1000% observe you guys as an ant farm
Yeah.
and just watch what you do.
Yeah. Like, I'm more interested in how the players affect the world than how the world affects the players. Because, like I said, like the big bad is going to be at the end, and then I have nodes for where they're going, like you said, like fence post. But like they can fuck up those fence posts all they want. And it's not a cinematic thing. They just like, this is happening. Like, hey, like, you know, this town has been enslaved. What you do with it is up to you. Like, I don't.
and understand, like, the thing is this, understand that by no means does the Pridwin permanently be invulnerable,
Yeah.
but I guess what I'm saying is, whenever I'm running a game or whenever I'm running whatever, it's like, it's not attackable yet.
Yeah. I
You
would just
know,
let
I'm
it be
doing-
attackable.
I'm setting it up as a goal, you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
Besides, if by Fort Hagen you're giving people missile launchers and nukes, then maybe you should not be that person. Maybe you should slow down. But
I mean, like
maps,
the thing is, like they would have a whole quest to try and kill that thing. But if they, I mean, like that's not true, because like you could be like 200 hours in and do the Fort Hagen quest if you wanted to. I don't recommend doing that because you lose out on a lot of stuff if you do it that way. But you can do that. Like you could be in full power armor before you get through Fort Hagen. But
I'm in full power armor before I leave Concord. What are you talking about?
yeah. But you know what I
I'm
mean.
sorry,
like,
guys.
'cause-
Spoilers for Fallout 4.
Yeah, you know what I mean, but like actually using it full time with like all the power cells and all that. But yeah, I mean, I just like, if they want to try to shoot it with a fat man, that's fine, because the consequences are so high and like their chances of doing it are so low. Like if they actually make that work, that's an awesome experience. But if they don't, that's a lot of fun for me because they have a giant blimp with guns on it now shooting down at them, and that's always fun for everybody. Like either way, like when they
Love it
mess
when
with
my
it.
players
but
fuck
if-
up.
Yeah, but if they shoot that mini nuke and they get a critical hit, you know what? Something's happening, and that's going to be awesome too. And they're going to talk about that for forever. Like I'm
Well,
just
and that's
like,
how you
okay.
learn how Redbird has a flared base.
Yeah, that's how you learn about the flared base with Redbird. Yeah.
That taught you nothing.
There's a difference between you teaching me things and me actively repressing things.
But I mean, I think
There's a
that just
difference
kind of
between
comes down
education and
to
active
I
repression.
think I mean, like once again, I think it kind of comes down to the table and style and all that. I mean, like I'm not like an amazing GM. I'm like average at best.
Mm.
So I mean, I really shouldn't be saying, you know, but it's just that's the way I like to do things. Like I like
Well-
to react. Like I'm big on like
Yeah.
give me something to react to so that I can get back
Yeah.
to you. Give me something, like,
Right.
blow it up, yeah. Go blow it up, yeah. Because I guess like the you know, like Noah, the ADHD, like we need to have like 5 things happening at once. So when people start busting out nukes and all that, it's like okay, now my brain is finally engaged. Like
Yeah.
me like narrating things a lot isn't really as fun to me as me just like reacting to what the players are doing. And the more crap they're vomiting at me, the more engaged I am to
So you
vomit
should be
stuff back
constantly
at them.
afraid, or what?
What's that?
You should be constantly afraid,
I mean, I guess I'm
Like-
constantly afraid of them.
like
Like,
a fight or flight kind of thing.
no, it's just like I need to be constantly engaged. Like
I
the
agree with
more
that.
you know, the more they have coming at me, the more they're just like interacting with this world, the more
Well,
I
the-
can give them without like
The
it's
more bullshit y'all do, the more ideas I have.
yeah, because it's like I have an inverse brain, so it's not like I could like you know like my brain works best when it's being like bombarded. Like the more chaotic things become, the easier my like the more focused my brain becomes. You know,
That's
so
trauma. Yeah.
yeah. So
Because
yeah.
I was
So,
talking
like
to somebody
that's
the other day, and I was like, I will fall apart after all of the stress, but not during.
Yeah.
I am wonderful during stress. And they're like, what? And I'm like, no, like I'm calm and collected, and I'm on point, and
Yeah.
shit will get fucking handled. But the second that things calm down, I will lose it.
yeah. And then like any little small thing will just set you off for like a few days
Major
afterward.
inconvenience. Yep.
Yeah. But like during the but that's the thing. Like when it's chaos, I can like really like zone in and focus. But there's also that
Yeah.
ADHD aspect of it because ADHD people love chaos. Like that's how we
Oh
operate.
yeah.
You know, that's why.
where we
Yeah.
Oh
thrive.
shit,
Like,
maybe
that's
I am
why-
autistic. God damn it.
Yeah, that's why Noah was in the army. Like you know, going wherever the hell he went that we're never allowed to know about is because he's like, well, this is what I want. Like that's how we operate. Well, and Jen also went to some place we're never allowed to know about, but some
Secret
bunker
squirrel.
somewhere. But you know what I mean. It's just I just personally like it when I like to have everything be touchable. Like everything can like be touchable at any time. But I'm also not I haven't played one of your games, but I just assume that you're a better GM than me. You know what I mean? Because people are actually paying you. So, you know. I think
Everybody
I just
look.
need to learn. I think I just need to learn. I think I need to play one of your games so I can learn that.
Well, tutorial rates are no. I'm kidding. No, the thing is this. No. It comes back to the thing is this. There are as many game masters as there are because there are as many tables as there are,
Yeah.
and there's no right or wrong way to run a game.
No,
I
there
mean,
are wrong ways
for
to run a game. I've played in the wrong way to run a game multiple times.
if you run a game that's based loosely on the World Wrestling Entertainment.
Hey, whoa, 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 whoa,
No,
whoa, whoa,
that is
whoa, whoa,
fine.
whoa.
Yeah.
No,
Whoa,
Shots
whoa,
fired. Damn.
No, it shouldn't be WWE though. It should in fact be
Because they will
ECW.
Pinkerton your house.
ECW. You want to do ECW?
They will
that
Triple
was
H
better.
your house.
Triple H.
They don't
ouch.
need to Pinkerton. They don't need to Pinkerton your house. They'll Triple
They'll
H
get
your
you from
house.
the inside.
This is
Wow.
like you.
Please
What the
don't have
fuck,
my
man?
fight tickets.
What's it
Look
called? A
out for them
Manchurian
folding
candidate.
chairs.
Look,
Oh
dude.
my
All I'm
god.
gonna say is this: like, if I get in trouble for running a wrestling role playing game, and the table shows up, I'm gonna be like, "Cool, Roman, you're the DM," and then I'm gonna sit all these people around, and he's gonna be like, "Why am I the DM?" I'm like, "Because you're the head of the table." Anyway, I went there.
This
That
fun
took- that
fact:
took
the
some
Big
work to
Show,
get that
the
joke.
Big Show does play D&D, so
Wow.
there's that. Yeah,
There's
the
a
Big
bunch
Show's
of there's a
D&D
bunch of
player.
people that play D. There's a bunch of wrestlers that play D&D.
Yeah, they're
I've
actors.
I've turned my camera off for the betterment of this show.
Oh really?
Noah's sad.
I like wrestling. That actually sounds fun. But
It's okay. It's okay. John Cena can play a rogue.
I'm a Stone Cold Steve Austin girl.
But yeah, so
That shows my age.
what were we talking
Hey,
about?
I was
again?
around for
No
some.
kidding.
I have no idea.
I think we were talking about maps at some point, but yeah, like
Maps, role play, something.
yeah.
Actually,
I
you know
I
what?
have
Let's
a-
not- Go ahead.
I have a question that you guys can definitely answer for me because I have no idea because
Oh
it's just,
god.
I'm on my only campaign. So you guys talking about different systems, like there's the Dungeons and Dragon systems, there's a Pathfinder system.
So let's see.
Yeah, what are the difference in these systems?
Oh, there's
Oh,
that. It could be
oh my
major or
God.
minor.
We
It
do not
depends.
have time
Yeah.
for this
Don't,
tonight.
that's a whole other
yeah.
episode.
You kind of
That's a
have to
rabbit hole.
read the. Oh, it's a rabbit hole. We could do a whole episode on different
There's
systems.
lore. There's all kinds
Uh,
of shit.
Yeah.
But
So
does it play like, are you still having those? So I know we don't have it with Fallout, but like with the other ones, would you have like the wisdom saving throws and Constitution and
Yeah.
and stuff
It
like that?
depends
Is
on
all
the
that?
game.
Depends on the
It
game.
depends on the,
it depends on the game. So there's
I will-
games that are close to D&D, and there's games that are really far
Well,
away
like
from
7th
D&D.
Sea is nothing
I
like
got
D&D.
Yeah.
I got you.
There's
I have a
not.
I have a role playing game sitting somewhere in this mess
Weird.
Let's-
called Lasers and Feelings. There's exactly two stats. There's exactly two stats. There is lasers and there is feelings, and there is a scale from 1 to 6, and 1 is over on is by lasers and 6 is by feelings. And what you do is you circle one of those numbers, okay? And if you try and like say you circle a 4, right? So if you are trying to do something involving science or it's a science fiction game, and if you're trying to do something involving like technology or science or astrophysics and science and academic shit, you're
Astronomy,
rolling lasers. You have to roll a 4 or higher to succeed. A 1 through 3 fails. Meanwhile, if you're trying to like build interpersonal relationships or establish first contact with an alien culture, you're rolling feelings. You have to roll 4 or lower to succeed. So if you roll a 5 or 6, you fail. So, and that's it. I have now just explained to you literally the entire system. It is a one-page RPG. It is called Lasers and Feelings, and I also have
I hit
I
it up
also
on
have the
Google, and
spin-off.
that looks really cool.
I also have the spin-off for that, Cyberpunk, which is the exact same system, except brace yourself. There's cyber and
Yeah.
there's punk.
Oh,
Well, then let me.
I
Let me-
would
okay.
explain the. Go ahead, Joe.
I was gonna say, like, now it's my turn to explain Shadowrun to her.
Oh, God.
Let's sit down for the next 12
Where's my
hours to
alcohol? Yeah.
I'll just go over just the rigor rules. How about that? That'll only take 14 hours.
The way I would describe all the different systems is the spectrum of different systems is
Spectrum.
it-
It's on this. They're on the
it's
spectrum.
kind of like
I'm still on my-
vampire lore. Okay, no matter what product you're watching, if it has vampires, it's
They
all
sparkle.
kind of related. But you also have
Yeah.
Blade, and then you
Yeah.
have Anne
Vampire
Rice,
the Masquerade.
and
yeah.
then you have Vampire the Masquerade, and then you have the world's best vampire shit, True Blood, and then that
Yeah.
other little bastard child that we don't talk about with the sparkly, glittery vampires.
No.
You know, it's
You're right.
all
Noah?
vampires. It's
Yeah.
all vampires, but it's completely different vampires.
Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here. Noah just said Twilight are part of the vampires.
Oh.
No, he refused to mention it by name. He did not.
Damn
Like,
right
on the
I didn't.
record, it was never mentioned by name.
Wait a
so-
second, hold on.
How do you know they
Somebody
glitter?
Just defend me on this show
So
for once.
so wait.
I'm not
Yeah,
used to this. I don't
yeah.
know how to handle this. Fuck.
Yeah.
So
My
wait.
tism's kicking in. I gotta spin circles. I don't know what to do. Shit,
So-
shit.
Emotional support beer.
So emotional support beer. Go to your emotional support beer. Okay. So like the thing is this, like Shadowrun, there are a lot of rules.
But the
But
core
some
mechanic
people
is
really-
very simple.
But the thing is this, some people really dig crunchy role-playing games. Like
Yeah,
role-playing
yeah.
games are peanut butter. There's
Yeah.
your quote for
Yeah.
today. Role-playing
Oh,
games
that's
are
a
peanut
great
butter.
way to put it. It's peanut butter.
Some
Yeah.
game systems are crunchy.
Yeah.
And those will tell you literally how many minutes you can hold your breath underwater,
Yeah.
given a specific viscosity of the water and blah 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 blah. Super
Yeah.
technical.
There's
Where you get your really high simulationist games and also your really hard science fiction.
There
I'll be-
was a game where you could actually plot artillery like the correct way in the game. I forget what it was called, but there was a game where you could literally plot artillery in the game, and it's just like
Hold on.
the math
not
for that
realize-
is just stupid.
Yeah.
Like Jen just lit the nerd beacon. Did
Yeah,
y'all hear all of you guys just like light up?
Right.
Yeah.
right. Well, but on the other side of that, so you got the crunchy, but on the other side
Gondor
of
calls for aid.
you know what? Gondor calls for aid. We're just gonna really send thoughts and prayers Gondor's way. Because we really have to
Hold
take
on,
care of
Wilkes, those
ourselves now.
motherfuckers will answer. Oh,
Anyway.
speaking of, I have to interrupt everybody because this reminds me of something. Okay, so my friend's wife had her birthday on Saturday, right? And she did a Lord of the Rings themed birthday party. So I went as the One Ring. I literally drew a ring on a T-shirt and wrote "Precious" underneath it.
What
Right.
That fucking tracks. That makes me sad.
Yeah, I was the One Ring because everybody fucking wants me. Duh, I'm beautiful. Anyway,
Right.
so she
So,
was
yeah.
like, "Hey, we're gonna split up into 2 teams and we're gonna do Lord of the Rings trivia." I was
Oh,
like,
we can throw
fucking
in a volcano later.
"Bet, let's go." So it's me as team captain A, and then my friend Coulter was the other team captain, and she was like, "Okay, well, we need team names." I was like, "Okay, you go first." So he goes, and I forget what his team name was. It wasn't very cool, but our team name was, and Rohan got them motherfucking answers.
What the fuck?
And would you like to know who won the game of Lord of the Rings trivia? It was Rohan got them
yeah.
motherfucking answers.
The guy with the autistic guy as the team leader
Yeah.
usually wins. Trust me.
Yeah,
I've
it
done
was
a
the-
lot of-
it was
All
the
I'm
guy-
saying is that we throw Noah in a volcano later.
It was the autistic guy with the One Ring T-shirt he homemade, and the guy that falls asleep to the Lord of the Rings trilogy on a nightly basis. And they somehow allowed us to be on the same team together, like we weren't going to wipe the floor with the rest of the room.
All right, so back to narrative versus simulationist versus gaming.
Yeah, There's you got your crunchy games, which are more for simulationist, hard science, that kind
Yeah.
of stuff. Then on the other side, you've got creamy games, which are more like
dirty.
I love
narrative,
it when they're creamy.
Yeah,
either narrative games or very rules light
Yeah,
games. You'll hear
like
that
Star
thrown
Wars
around a lot.
D6. Star Wars
Uh,
D6.
Star Wars
tasty.
D6, yeah.
I love
Well,
that game.
actually, a good example is on the crunchy side, you've got Shadowrun. On the creamy side, you've got Shadowrun Anarchy, which is
yeah.
they
Rules like
stripped out
Shadowrun.
they
Yeah.
stripped out tons of the rules, but it still maintains the feel, and you dig it. And then, oh god,
Then-
and then you got
then-
this bastard.
Oh,
This
paranoia.
bastard
Yeah.
is amazing because there's only one person allowed to know the rules, and that's
Yeah.
me.
Everyone
And
else is
If
treason.
any
It's
of
treason.
you, if any of you quote the rules,
It's
you are
treason.
subject to execution by your other players
Well, hell yeah. I'll play that game.
because that is information beyond your security clearance, citizen. Because in Paranoia, it is basically 1984 Run Amok, the book 1984,
So 2023, got it.
where you play a
Ain't no
troubleshooter.
fucking joke.
You play a troubleshooter for Alpha
red
Complex.
clearance. Red clearance troubleshooting.
Yeah, you play a troubleshooter for Alpha Complex. Your mission is to hunt down commie mutant traitors, but here's the twist: you are a commie mutant traitor.
Yeah.
All of your fellow troubleshooters are commie mutant traitors. But the other twist is that you are all different kinds of mutants,
Yeah.
and you're all from different secret societies, and you're all traitors in different ways.
And you're
So
all
in
trying to out
addition-
each other. You're all
and
trying
you're
to out each other.
each
'Cause
other
you get
while
higher rank
also
if you out
completing
everybody.
missions.
Yeah, so like that's how you get higher rank is by outing each other and completing missions. So you're all just trying to fuck each other over.
So that's
So-
almond butter. Got it.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
yeah,
that's
that-
like
that right
there
Nutella.
is-
Yeah.
Oh yeah, if
Jen,
you do it right, it's
basically-
Nutella. If you
Yeah.
do it right, it's Nutella.
Well,
I
Jen,
hate
I-
to do this,
that's
But
one of my
boys,
favorite games.
girls, and those undecided, I have to go.
Okay.
Oh
Okay,
god,
bye.
who's
Yeah.
gonna do the scream? Anyway,
What are you talking about? I only do the scream on the beginning.
all right.
Joe screams everybody
Alright.
out. That's his
No,
job.
no, I don't scream everybody out.
Alright.
You guys want to keep going, or do you want to set it off here?
I think this is a good place to sign it off until
Yeah.
I can grovel and beg to Kristen. who's a great
This
game
has
master.
been Monday Night RPG talk show, ladies and gentlemen, on Degenerates with Dice. You heard it here. Next Monday night, same bat time, same bat channel. Nobody knows what the fucking topics are going to be, but it's going to be off the rails because Joe's going to let
Same
me
bat
be in
crazy.
charge. Joe's going to let the ADHD boy himself run the show from behind the screen.
Sounds good. See you
Cliffhangers.
guys next week.
Cliffhangers.
And with that, we'll